over the years, I've been pretty patient when it comes to the nonsense happening in Call of Duty, but one of the things that I think is sort of hard to ignore is when you can't even play Call of Duty. What do I mean by this? Well, first things first, Call of Duty is not just a matter of loading into a game and trying to shoot people. There's a bit more to it than that. In my opinion, playing Call of Duty is working towards goals, whether personal or directed by the game. One goal might be stay alive longer, one goal might be win more gunfights, one goal might be working on your aim, and the other goal might be getting Singularity camo or a 100% mastery calling card, something like that. Call of Duty is a fairly simple concept, and in fact, it's losing out to games that are a little less simple, a little bit more engaging, a little bit more dopamine-inducing. Call of Duty traditional 6v6 multiplayer is old. It's a very old concept. I actually think that our next few Call of Duty games going into the next 6-year cycle of COD should strive to be more tactile and involved and immersive versus, sort of just 3-lane map, unlock camo, shoot bad guy. That's a whole other video. What I'm saying is that because of Call of Duty's simplistic structure, we sort of make goals for ourselves before we hop on, whether subconsciously or consciously. There's something you want to achieve, and sometimes it's just as simple as wanting to turn your brain off and shoot people. That's fine. A lot of those people are on my team when I'm trying to win, but that's fine. I'm not trying to be a douchebag. Call of Duty is a massively played game, and it's massively played for massively different reasons across the board. This isn't a video complaining about any singular aspect about Call of Duty's gameplay that I dislike or is keeping me from wanting to play. No, this is far worse than that. And I don't mean that hyperbolically, I don't mean this lightly. It is far worse than just an overpowered gun, a broken meta, a perk rearrangement that, hasn't happened yet. I have some issues with Black Ops 7. None of them are going to be mentioned here, except I can't play it. It's hard to make the argument that I can play Black Ops 7 normally when I am absolutely, fundamentally punished for going on longer streaks, calling in big score streaks, and winning the game. Now, the team balancing of this game, which again is probably going to be its own video because that situation has devolved, it has not improved, but the team balancing already makes it so I am usually working uphill with about 5 pounds of dead weight, give or take. So when I actually sit up in my gaming chair, lean forward, and carry those 5 pounds of dead weight, call in something like a VTOL, hunter-killer drones, Legion, a dog even, and the enemy team immediately rage quits, I can't play the game anymore. I can't keep getting kills, I can't keep fighting, and I would much prefer a frustrating match where I'm, going uphill than a game that ends due to my involvement. A massive portion of this player base has not done anything to actually pursue success. They don't aim train, they don't go for high streaks, they don't do the things that allow you to dominate the map and game. They don't believe in it, they don't care about it, and that's fine. So when skill-based matchmaking was much more strict than it is now, a lot of those people played against each other. A lot of those more middle-of-the-road, kind of, you win some, you lose some kind of players kept fighting each other over and over again, and now they're bumping into people that want to win, that want to actually do something, that want to actually dominate the match and actually show that they know what they're doing. Like, I've been playing Call of Duty since I was like 10 years old. Sometimes I want to look like I know what I'm doing. If I wanted a relaxing experience, if I wanted a solo experience, there are so many other video games I could load up. I don't need to load up the 6v6 arena-style Twitch shooter for a fun, relaxing little time. The fun, relaxing part of COD is when you can get into flow state and do well and shoot more people than they shoot you. I mean, you don't load up team deathmatch to respawn all game. Like, there's push and pull. But it's awful when you're in a match of TDM. Just being in a match of TDM with the way the spawns are, it's not even worth it half the time. I always try to trick myself into thinking it's doable, but it never is. But let's say I'm in that match and I end up doing well and I end up staying alive. I end up getting a high streak and I end up calling it in. Everyone backs the hell out and my game's over. So even though I push through the terrible spawns or maybe the bad teammates or even just the better enemies, I'm punished. Because now the game that I wanted to play is over. In my video about cold-blooded sort of killing Call of Duty, and that was a little hyperbolic, but I mean, I made my point in that video. If you guys want to go watch it, it's my response to Exclusive Ace. Which, of course, apparently I just misrepresented his argument, even though I read his comment multiple times and read it on live stream, and nobody thinks I misrepresented it, except for a few angry people in the comments. But either way, I like to think my reading comprehension isn't that terrible. But anywho, in that video I talked about how punishing it would be for the average person to get a high streak and then have it be completely ineffective. And one of the things I forgot to mention in that video is that, you know, you can also just go inside. This has been a thing forever. When somebody calls in an AC-130 or a Swarm or a Legion or Raps or whatever, you can hide somewhere. There are places for you to hide in the map, and you can do that. You don't just either have to equip Cold-Blooded or die or leave. Like, there's other options. You can play around it. I completely forgot to mention that. You know, duck and cover works pretty well in Call of Duty. Either way, I'm digressing. Point being, when I call in a large streak, not only are there hard counters for it in the game that you could just employ on your class, there are soft counters like hiding in a building or a shack or an outhouse and making sure you don't blow up that way. But people are rage quitting at such an enormous amount. It is an epidemic of rage quitting. And I kind of get it. Sometimes the matchmaking throws me into match after match of like games in progress or matches that aren't within my region, and I like to show the matchmaking who's boss. You throw me into a 70 millisecond ping game that's halfway over and I can't win, bye, see you. I will, it's hurting the player base. I know that I'm hurting the player base, so I genuinely don't mind hurting the player base and hurting the matchmaking pool by backing out to show the game, this isn't going to retain me as a player if you keep doing this. But in a game that starts with all players present and goes to about the third quarter, and we just start leaving because the other team starts winning, there needs to be a penalty. There needs to be a penalty and incentive. There needs to be an incentive to stay or a penalty for leaving. One of the things I really miss about Battlefield 3 back in the day is that if you left mid-game, you left all of your XP and your unlocks and all your shit behind when you left the server. It didn't finalize until the end of the game that you earned those things. So, if you started losing or your team started losing all the conquest flags and you just decide to back out and leave, you were punished. Now, if you're doing so poorly, you're not gaining any XP, you're not making any challenge progression, you're not closer to unlocking anything than you were before, okay, you might as well leave. You don't have anything anyway. It's so bad. It's so ruthless. It's so unfun. There's no reason for you to be there. You're not even playing anymore. I get that. But that's the beauty of that type of system, right? Is that if you're getting so pwned that you can't do anything, then yeah, okay, yeah, back out. But if you are playing the game in a way that is back and forth and you have like 32 kills on the board and you've made some progress towards unlocking that new DLC weapon and whatever, like, you don't want to back out because you don't want to lose all that progress, and it encourages you and incentivizes you to stay in the game and help your team because you don't want to lose your own progress as well as hurt your team at the same time. So people stayed in hard matches in Battlefield 3 a lot. That was sort of the story of your play session, and now there's no incentive to stay in a game. In fact, it feels like you're motivated to leave the game by the fact that the matchmaking system seemingly gives you easier lobbies if it sees you backing out a lot. So yeah, why not? If you hear somebody say, enemy harp overhead, might as well just back out and hopefully find a game where enemies can't get harps or aren't capable of going for higher streaks. And Call of Duty has already had a problem for many years now. I would say since like Advanced Warfare, maybe since Call of Duty Ghosts, it really felt very noticeable in AW. There was such an emphasis on challenges and unlocks and cosmetics and things of that sort that a lot of people weren't playing for the game itself. They were playing to unlock the things in the game. We see this now. I mean, we saw for 6 years people just stay in shipment playlists over and over and over again to, you know, just maximize XP and unlock capabilities because they weren't interested in playing the game. They would play the lowest common denominator of the game as long as it meant it unlocked things for them faster. And then they would be so burnt out they wouldn't go play with those things in the actual matches. The actual matches are ridiculous. Who cares about that? I don't want to play the actual game. I just want the stuff in it. It's a weird completionist mindset that hurts Call of Duty. It genuinely hurts Call of Duty. If you don't think so, then you haven't been paying attention, because this is one of the reasons your teammates suck. This is one of the reasons you find enemies that seem like they're playing like bots, is they're trying to get some weird challenge done, and the game isn't about beating the enemy team or being good at the game or playing the map or going for map control or Any of those push and pull, tactile, in the moment moments that people are craving in other games, by the way, none of those are really happening as consistently because you have people just playing for challenges and just playing for certain goals, and, then the game sort of becomes secondary to unlocking something within it. So they're using guns they're not comfortable with and positioning themselves in areas for long shots and trying to go for double kills even if it gets them killed immediately after. And I get it. I do it too sometimes. I like to go for harder challenges. I went for Singularity in Black Ops 7, and I'll tell you, it makes you play worse after you do it. Because you don't get Singularity by playing smart, you get it by throwing your head at the wall over and over and over again with a lot of the challenges that you have to do. Point being, people already aren't playing the game for the sake of just playing the game, and they're backing out the moment the game actually poses any sort of challenge, threat, or frustration. I feel like there should be some level of encouragement at the end of a game. Maybe something like the Rainbow Six Siege lotto wheel that spins and gives you an alpha pack at the end of a Rainbow Six Siege match. Something like that, where maybe you get little COD point jackpot at the end of a game. It kind of, if you win, you have a higher chance of getting more, but you can get anywhere from like 1 to 10 COD points at the end of every game. But if you back out, you don't get the COD points. That would be interesting. After, a couple days of playing, you find, wow, I actually have like 150 COD points. That's kind of crazy. And now I can, maybe buy some tiers in the battle pass or in one of the event passes. I don't have to spend money on it. I just have to make sure I stay in the game. That'd be the incentive. And then there needs to be some sort of detriment to leaving, and maybe challenge progression not counting could be part of that. Now, that leads to other problems, like if you load into a game and you immediately see that you're not going to be able to make any challenge progress, you might as well just back out before the game even starts. But then again, that gives the game a longer time to repopulate, but then you have more matches that are in progress. But would you really want to back out and lose what little challenge progress you did get, if at all, and then also lose your COD point jackpot? I'm not sure if you really want to do that. Hell, Call of Duty just having a ranked system for its, normal 6v6 multiplayer where you can actually lose your rank by leaving would be kind of interesting as well. It'd be interesting if rage quitting a game made you lose like 20,000 XP. That's like almost a full level in the later levels of a Prestige. There needs to be a punishment, and I don't agree with punishing people with like timers or something. Oh, you can't matchmake for 10 minutes because you kept backing out. I don't like that because that's just going to shrink the player pool down more. Some people have to leave because their lives are busy. Some people have to leave because they're lagging out, and that's not fair to punish them so hard for disconnecting or, taking care of their kids or whatever. And I don't want the game that they paid for to ever tell them you're locked out of playing, you've been very naughty, and all they did was not finish a match of like kill confirmed or something. But there needs to be an incentive. There needs to be a punishment. There needs to be a carrot at the end of the stick for every match that you complete. And then, that stick needs to be used against your ass if you back out before. And I think that would make the most sense to make Call of Duty multiplayer more about playing the game all the way through to the end and seeing the match through and trying to win the match and doing the best you can, instead of just this little collectathon of challenges and XP, and the moment it poses any sort of actual challenge, backing out. There needs to be a punishment. There needs to be a punishment. And maybe it could be its own matchmaking pool. If you keep backing out, you get put into a matchmaking pool that prioritizes joining matches in progress. It's like, hey, you are now in this matchmaking pool for 30 minutes, where now you are more likely to join losing games or, in progress games. So like a shadow ban, but instead of it shadow banning you, it tells you, hey, you're going to go sit at the sticky grape juice covered kids table because you've been bad. You've been a bad boy. You've been a bad girl. You've been very bad. Don't take this audio out of context and use it for anything. Anyway, point being, that would be fucking nice. It's been rough out here. I want to sit down and play Call of Duty, but knowing that I'll be sort of punished for success kind of makes me play a little bit worse. I don't run as high streaks. I don't try to dominate the enemy team as much because I just don't want them to all back out. But then I'm also like going uphill anyway against like full parties and people that are more coordinated or objective oriented, while my team is like barely going positive, or worse, they're going 1 KD with, a bunch of captures and 0 defense. So they run out onto the flag, they get a kill, they die, and they feed the enemy team streaks because for some reason every enemy team is, playing for the B flag like it's Hamburger Hill, and I'm for some reason, stuck with a bunch of guys that know that Hamburger Hill isn't worth taking. Like, I don't know, they're in a pacifist run of some kind. I'm not sure what it is. Either way, it is hard to play the game currently. In its current state, it is hard to play the game. And that is the point. I've now reiterated it enough. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video for whatever reason, if you agree with me, if you experience the same thing, let me know down below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon button, because that's also going to help you keep track of my uploads. Had to get this out of my head because, God, it's been really weighing me down. I want to enjoy Black Ops 7. It's really hard right now, because now that I have Singularity and I want to play hard, my matchmaking experience has been just, frankly, awful. Anyway, see you when I see you. Goodbye.